I want to see Mommy, my granddaughter pleaded, chained in the shed. I put my hands on her neck, then I saw the necklace and key. Now he'll pay. I can't handle this situation any longer. I just wanted to be with my mom. Those words were a desperate plea from my granddaughter, who was only 5. Her eyes looked empty and she was terribly thin. I discovered her locked up in the storage shed while I was going through my daughter's possessions. Didn't we report you missing? And honey, your mommy is gone. I also want to be with my daughter. Experiencing exactly what she was feeling, the tears streamed down my face without control. As my granddaughter kept echoing the sentiment, I want to go to Mommy, I made up my mind. Okay, I thought, should we just go to the other world together? However, just as I put my hands on my granddaughter's neck, something suddenly caught my attention. It felt eerily familiar. Wait, I realized something at that second. I was set on getting my revenge. On the day of my daughter's wedding, I was incredibly happy, and I said to Vanessa, "Be happy, sweetheart." I am Susan, 58 years old, and I work as a medical clerk at a hospital that is close by. I think I did a good job after my husband passed early. I worked diligently to raise my daughter Vanessa and her younger brother. Mom, thank you for everything. You must be worn out. I thought, let me give you a shoulder massage. Vanessa, much like her compassionate father, was a caring daughter. She always said things like that to me. It was so soothing. After she turned into an adult, Vanessa started managing an online store, and it seemed she had a good amount of savings. A couple of years ago, she got married to Daniel, who worked for an impressive company, and they were given a beautiful daughter, Olivia. My boy also finished college, found a job, and started living on his own. Now I could finally unwind and de-stress a little. Still, on one scorching summer day, Vanessa showed up unexpectedly with a small suitcase. I thought I could finally unwind and de-stress. Still, her face was troubled and she looked unwell. What's the matter, honey? You seem off. Did something occur? It could just be me, but I have the feeling that Daniel's behavior towards me has changed, and it's become more distant recently. Vanessa told me that Daniel always returns home late at night with the smell of liquor on him. Also, he would disregard her when she tried to speak to him, shout, "Shut up," at her, and on occasion even hit or kick her. And you know, he claims he doesn't need to help with our bills since I have my own money. He insists he's saving his portion, but he won't even show me his bank records. This is concerning. I'm bewildered by Daniel's actions. This must be so difficult for you, I whispered. At this, Vanessa bit her lip, and tears began to stream down her cheeks. For my usually strong daughter to display such vulnerability, she must be truly hurting. I softly suggested, why don't you try separating from him for a bit? If you ultimately want a divorce, you're welcome back here whenever you need to be. Yet my daughter didn't agree. Thanks, Mom. I'll observe the situation for a while longer. Talking to you has helped me feel a little better. I'm really all right. I can't rush into anything with Olivia to consider. Even while I was trying to appear okay, she kept going, pointing out that Daniel had been decent originally. Perhaps if I put in more of an attempt, he'll revert to his old ways. I figured I'd increase my efforts a little. With that, she and Olivia departed, appearing forlorn. If I'd only paid closer attention to what she said that day, things wouldn't have become so terrible. I would come to regret that deeply eventually. A month passed, and out of nowhere, Daniel called me telling me that Vanessa had died. No, that's not possible, is it? It was just impossible to comprehend. The sudden death of my child. According to Daniel, Vanessa had ended her life by jumping into a waterfall, taking Olivia along with her. What's worse, he mentioned that a note, seemingly a suicide note typed on a computer, had been discovered, stating that I've lost all desire to live. I'm leaving with Olivia. I lost my beloved daughter because of Vanessa's actions. What are you planning to do about this? What are you even talking about? I felt completely disoriented because of the grief over my daughter and Daniel's accusatory words. It was your way of raising her that turned Vanessa into such a terrible person who would hurt her own child. It's your responsibility, isn't it? My responsibility, obviously. With a face filled with resentment, Daniel then told me something even more difficult to believe. Apparently, although Vanessa's body had been recovered, Olivia was still nowhere to be found. Vanessa doesn't concern me. I just wanted my daughter to be found. Adding insult to injury, he told me that he'd already had Vanessa cremated in a private ceremony and spread her ashes in the ocean because a public viewing would be a bad look. How could he do that? Driven to the edge of total desolation, unable even to witness my precious daughter's last moments, I was stunned and in disbelief. Subsequently, I couldn't concentrate on anything and requested some time off from my job. Both day and night, the faces of my daughter and granddaughter kept flashing before my eyes, and the tears just kept coming. Approximately 7 days later, I got a call from Daniel. He said he wanted to move forward quickly, and he was planning to go through Vanessa's possessions. He was planning to get rid of everything that belonged to her. As he went on and on, I managed to stop him and say, "Please, just wait. Let me handle it." Even though I wasn't able to be there for my daughter's final moments, at least let me take care of her things. Daniel didn't seem pleased, but I absolutely refused to change my mind. 7 days was way too soon for sorting through her belongings, no matter how you looked at it. Plus, knowing that my daughter had confided in me before, I couldn't fully trust Daniel, and I needed to search for any hidden clues myself. So, unable to sit still, I went to my daughter's home the following night. I couldn't get in touch with Daniel, so I waited outside, but even after it got late, he didn't come home. With no other options, I called Daniel again, and I was met with sudden rage. He said it was rude to show up unannounced. He was working late, so I needed to just go back home. Didn't I promise that I would handle Vanessa's belongings? I'm telling you, do not step foot on my property again. I apologize for reaching out when you're probably occupied. However, Vanessa gave me an extra key beforehand, just in case something happened. Shouldn't I be able to use it to go inside? Absolutely not. Seriously, what a pest, you old witch. I'm going to take legal action against you. Daniel ignored that and continued shouting before ending the call, and those harsh words really shook me. I didn't have the nerve to get inside the house without Daniel's approval, so I was about to turn around and go. But then I noticed an odd odor that filled the air. It reminded me of garbage that's been left out in the sun. As I tried to figure out where the smell was coming from, it appeared to be originating from the storage shed located in the backyard. I wondered, what could that smell be? With a sense of foreboding, I walked to the back of the shed and took a look inside through one of the windows. Something was moving around in there. It was difficult to see due to the darkness, but it looked like an actual living being. What could it possibly be? Even though I felt a shiver run down my back, I thought I couldn't just ignore it. I tried to unlock the shed, but the aged lock was busted, and the door was being held shut by something resembling a wooden pole. Despite that, after giving the door a few violent shakes, I finally succeeded in getting it open. As I hesitantly stepped inside, something incredibly disturbing was immediately in front of me. My granddaughter, who they told me had disappeared, was actually chained up in there. It was Olivia. I quickly hurried over to her, and my granddaughter slowly gazed upward at me with a confused look on her face. Grandma. Lying all around Olivia were scattered empty lunch containers with the smell of decay, along with half-eaten loaves of bread. I saw something awful, a bucket filled with waste. It was awful. I felt awful for her. I was more disturbed by what I found than pleased that Olivia was still alive. I gave my little granddaughter a careful hug, though Olivia, who was terribly thin with empty eyes, murmured, "I just can't handle this anymore. I want to see Mommy very soon." Hearing her say those words brought tears streaming down my face. "Grandma, please take me to Mommy," she pleaded. "Yes, we'll go together," I replied. Consumed by sorrow after losing my daughter, I placed my hands on Olivia's neck with the plan of going to the afterlife with her. That's when my gaze fell upon the necklace around Olivia's neck. It was the same one I'd given Vanessa as a good luck charm. Attached to the necklace was a key. It wasn't supposed to be there. "Where did you find this?" I questioned. When I inquired about the familiar key, Olivia responded with, "This is." What Olivia said next completely horrified me, and my anger surged. So that's the truth of it. I will absolutely not forgive whoever did this. I found some pliers in the shed, cut the chain, and then brought Olivia to a specific location. This is how I decided to get revenge for my daughter. The day after Daniel burst into my house, his eyes were bloodshot, his eyebrows were scrunched, and his face was flushed. "You took Olivia, didn't you? She's my daughter. Give her back," I asked. "What on earth are you talking about? I've tried to call you numerous times." "I've tried calling you repeatedly, and you wouldn't answer. It has to be you." My heart pounded as Daniel's face flushed crimson while he shouted, and it appeared he didn't grasp that his words were inconsistent. But wasn't Olivia gone? Daniel fumbled his words, taking a pause, then narrowed his eyes at me. "You have no right to call yourself a father considering what you did to her." He said she was a pampered child who disregarded everyone. "She's a spoiled child who never listens to her parents." I was merely trying to correct her behavior. Furthermore, Vanessa ended her own life because Olivia caused her issues. Daniel began detailing how difficult Olivia had become. "This is the first time I've heard this information. Naturally, I didn't share this with you. You'd simply let her get away with everything. That's why I stated she was missing. As a parent, I have the right to manage my child. It's not your concern. However, tying her up and secluding her is beyond reasonable discipline. I'm going to file a report about this situation." Suddenly, a smirk twisted Daniel's mouth, and he started to laugh. "You don't have any evidence." "Well, I do. Maybe we will get a memory. I can't wait to report." I displayed the photos of Olivia I had taken on my phone. "Where did you take those? Give me Olivia." Daniel sprang towards me, trying to grab my phone. At that moment, a person emerged from the adjacent room, yelling, "Halt," and seized Daniel's arm. "It was my son. What are you doing here? Release me." Honestly, when I informed my son yesterday about finding Olivia, he quickly came here to offer assistance. "Daniel, now restrained by my son who had played American football in college, looked defeated. I'm aware that you took Vanessa's money and that you attacked her when she discovered your cheating. Daniel gave me a questioning glance, wondering how I knew all of this information. Vanessa shared it with me. Wow, she's still living. Daniel's face turned ashen with surprise. I described the circumstances to him when I encountered my little girl. The truth is, the key hanging on Olivia's necklace opened our previous family house. It's currently unoccupied, though we held on to it out of nostalgia. And during that time, Olivia had begged me, saying that this necklace was a good luck charm and that Mommy was injured, pleading for help. When I heard this, I started to believe there was a chance my daughter was still living. After getting Olivia to safety, I immediately went to my childhood home and found Vanessa lying there unconscious. Vanessa, hold on. As I picked her up, I heard a barely audible murmur, Mom. Olivia also embraced Vanessa tightly, sobbing, Mommy, I missed you. I quickly dialed 911 and they rushed Vanessa to the hospital where they saved her life. The doctor explained that if we had been a little later, it would have been too late for her. Olivia was also in a weakened state from lack of food, so they admitted her to the hospital as well. Consequently, I felt a deep happiness, knowing that my daughter was safe, someone I believed I would never see again. At the same time, I was filled with a consuming rage towards the person who had subjected my daughter and granddaughter to this awful experience. Later, after Vanessa regained consciousness at the hospital, I learned everything from her. It seems that Vanessa unearthed proof of Daniel's infidelity, and the fact he'd swindled her finances via his computer while she was tidying up, and she called him out on it. He lost control and physically assaulted her, hitting and kicking her, which left her hurt. When Vanessa, experiencing intense pain in her stomach from the kicks and starting to feel lightheaded, pleaded for Daniel's assistance, he simply chuckled and went to the bedroom. Recognizing the danger of remaining there, Vanessa ran away with Olivia's assistance. Although they made it out of the house, Daniel had stolen Vanessa's bankbook, wallet, and phone. With no other options available, she stumbled for around 60 minutes before arriving at the house where I grew up. Olivia, wanting to aid her mother, went back to their place to get Vanessa's phone and wallet while I was sleeping, and that's when her dad found her. Yet even when he had her chained up, Olivia refused to disclose where Vanessa was, regardless of how many times they questioned her. Both Vanessa and Olivia were close to death. Vanessa looked lifeless and was barely drawing breath. Even though she'd escaped, her time was limited. Daniel's tone was casual and dismissive. Olivia wouldn't give any information and there was no word from them, so I just assumed they'd disappeared somewhere, vanished from sight. Believing Vanessa was dead, Daniel fabricated a suicide message on the computer to make it appear as though Vanessa had ended her own life. What's more, he chose to confine Olivia in the shed, with the intention of getting rid of her later. It was nothing more than a lover's spat. The whole thing was just a casual fling. Vanessa's safe now, so shouldn't that be enough? That's not what matters here. I'm also documenting this discussion, and I'm planning to tell the authorities about it. The mention of the word police sent Daniel into a complete meltdown, and he started begging for mercy, dropping to his knees. It was shocking how quickly his demeanor transformed. I'm sorry, he said. I'll end things with the other woman and treat Vanessa better from now on, so please don't bring the police into this. I don't believe a word you're saying. When I pushed back, he grabbed at my arm. If I go to jail, Olivia will be left without a dad. Is that really what you want? I pulled my arm away from Daniel's grasp. I pushed his hands away. As he was begging, tears streaming down his face, fighting to save himself. She'd be better off without a father like you. Just then, the cops showed up and took Daniel away. Afterward, Vanessa and Daniel got a divorce. Daniel was sentenced to prison and got fired from his job because of the charges. Vanessa asked for $100,000 that he'd stolen from their savings, plus $20,000 to cover the emotional distress and harm from the affair, and $150,000 for the child support. She also wanted $10,000 from Daniel's mistress as compensation for the damage done. Apparently, Daniel had plans to move in with his mistress, but for her, it was only a short-term thing. When Daniel's parents found out about what happened, they said they were sorry to Vanessa and sold some land to cover the funds Daniel owed, but they planned to make Daniel work in order to pay them back. I feel Daniel's going to have a tough time, no matter what after he gets out. Vanessa and Olivia are back here with me since they're better now. Vanessa, completely herself again, has begun her job and is living quietly. I'm putting a lot of effort into things, too, and trying to do right by them.